Did you know some believe that the creatures we know of as Faerie are actually angels who were tossed out of heaven? Those who fell in the oceans became creatures that we know as Mermaids and Selkies. Those who fell on land became Banshee, Elves, and Hellhounds. Those who stayed suspended in the sky became the dreaded Slaugh. And those who fell underground became knockers. Others, of course, believe that angels are sent from heaven to help or inspire us mere humans. I've got 2 incredible stories for you today and ask that you keep an open mind about these things that we call angels. Back in 1985, I was in the middle of a very nasty divorce from my first wife. Things had gone horribly sideways and spilled over into my job. Suffice to say, I had a breakdown of epic proportions. For weeks I couldn't function. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, and when I did sleep, I was plagued with nightmares. Early one day, I grabbed a few things and just began to drive. I had little money and was in a very dark place mentally. Although I had been raised Christian and grew up in a church, I was living a non-Christian life. As I drove, I was in a cloud. I could only see darkness, pain and despair in my future. I could imagine no happiness, no joy, and no future. I considered my life over at the age of 22. As I drove, my despair clouded my perception and I became even more depressed. Somewhere in eastern Oklahoma, I pulled in for fuel and a restroom break. Afterwards, as I continued my journey, I noticed a man standing at the side of the interstate on a ramp looking for a ride. He was dressed rather strangely for the middle of summer, wearing a long, Old West-style slicker and an ivy cap. I continued on my journey and thought nothing more of it. But soon I was forced to stop again as I suddenly needed to use the restroom very badly, which was unusual as I could, and still do, often drive for hundreds of miles without stopping. While I completed my bathroom break and turned my car back toward Interstate 40, as I turned onto the ramp, my eyes were drawn to another hitchhiker looking for a ride. Only it wasn't another hitchhiker, it was the very same person I'd seen just a short time earlier at my previous stop. I actually did a double take on seeing him. For reasons that I didn't understand at the time, but have become clearer later in my life, I pulled over and offered him a ride. He got in the car and thanked me for the lift. In a short time, he began to make what I assumed was just small talk. But it was actually far from small talk. It was as though he could read my soul. He talked about life's heartache and troubles. It soon became clear that he appeared to know more about me and my troubles than he should. And then he turned the subject to faith and life's blessings. Now, several decades later, I don't remember all he said, but he seemed to have just the right words that I needed to hear. It was, for lack of a better word, miraculous the way he seemed to be able to speak to my soul and lift the burdens I felt were crushing my very spirit. He rode with me for the rest of that afternoon, and by the time we were approaching Little Rock, Arkansas, I felt like a new person. He promised me that everything would work out. He said I was just beginning on a new journey, and he assured me that I had good things in store for me in the future. It was very late in the afternoon as we entered Little Rock. The sun was just setting and I decided to get a motel for the night. I stopped at a corner to let him out of the car so he could continue on his way. Before exiting the car, he asked me if I could spare a little money for food. Well, I told him that I never give money to strangers because I couldn't know if it was just to be wasted on alcohol or drugs. I would be very happy, though, to buy him some food. Well, he graciously accepted my offer and I turned into a nearby convenience store parking lot and went into the store. All these years later, I can still remember exactly what I bought for him that evening. I purchased a pack of sausage, a half-gallon of milk and a loaf of bread. I also picked up some condiments, as well as a candy bar for dessert. After paying for the items, I exited the store and found him waiting by my car. I handed him the bag of food and thanked him again for making me feel better. He, in turn, thanked me for the ride and the food. We said goodbye. I got in my car and started it. Placing the car in reverse, I looked around just to be sure I wouldn't hit him backing out. But I couldn't see him anywhere. Because it had only been a moment since he walked toward the rear of my car, I was concerned that possibly he had tripped and fallen behind me or something. I didn't want to back over him, so I placed the car in park and got out to make sure that he was clear. Only he was nowhere to be seen. I walked around the car, and then I walked around the only other car in the parking lot. Nothing. I went in the store and asked the cashier if the gentleman in the long coat had come in. He said no one had come in since I'd walked out. Well, confused now, I walked back outside and walked out to the street corner and looked all four ways. There was no one to be seen. I walked around and looked behind the building. Nothing. I even got down on my knees and looked under my car, as well as the other car in the parking lot. Still nothing. The man had disappeared, as though he was a ghost. There is no way, even if he had run, could he have gotten out of sight as fast as he did. The man and the bag of food that I'd given him had vanished without a trace. Gone, as though they never even existed. Finally, I gave up. I went a short ways down the road and I rented a motel for the night. I went in, took a shower, and then, for the first time in weeks, I slept like a baby all night, peaceful and dreamless. The next morning, I awoke feeling refreshed and invigorated. The mental clouds were gone, the burden was lifted, and I felt like a completely new man. I continued my journey eastward with a new zest for life. I'm convinced that the man that rode with me all those years ago was an angel. Often I have looked back on that dark day, and I wonder where I would be today if it were not for that man's intervention. Knowing what I was going through and where I was heading, I'm certain that I would be in prison now, or even dead, had he not been standing on the side of the road that day. That man's experience is a great reminder to always keep our mind open. Even in the darkest of days, anything is possible. There just might be things in play around us that we cannot see or hear, but they are there. Well, another theory about angels is that they are actually the spirits of loved ones who have passed, who visit us to warn or protect us from some danger. And I wonder if that is what happened in the next story. But first, if you enjoy my videos, please consider supporting me as a patron. The link to my Patreon is in the notes below. It's quick, easy, and it's a safe way to support my exploration of all things strange. Now, buckle up because this is a dark one. Alex used to work until quite late in the evenings. Every night on the way back home, she walked through a small local park, as that was the shortest way. Most evenings there was always a few old people sitting on the bench and gossiping there, so she never had any fear of walking alone in the dark through that park. But one night she worked quite later than usual, and on her way back home she felt a little hesitation to go through the park as it was darker than usual, plus the fact that she knew there wouldn't be anyone sitting on the bench at that late hour. But anyhow, she chose to go through the park, as it was the shortest way home. As soon as she entered the park, she heard some noise from behind her. She turned her head and there was a man who was quickly running towards her. Oh, damn! She started walking fast. She looked back again to see him, but to her surprise, the man had stopped chasing her. Alex kept walking fast. and after a few seconds she looked back again to see him. What the hell? He was walking very fast towards her again. She started to run and she started to pray. She glanced over her shoulder and to her surprise again, the man had stopped chasing her and started walking in the opposite direction. This happened another 4 times. He would chase her, then stop and walk in the opposite direction. The last time he was so close to Alex that there was a mere 4 or 5 feet distance between them, and she could clearly see his face. At that very moment she stepped out of the park and felt so much relief to stand under the bright street lights. Well, she was wrong if she thought the ordeal was over. A few days later, she saw a picture of the same man on the news, arrested for murder. Alex was shocked to know that it was the same man who chased her in the park. She was horrified, sick to the stomach with a sense of dread, but confused too. She knew he could have reached her that night. Why didn't he attack her? Was he just playing around, like a cat with a mouse, wanting to scar her mentally for the rest of her life? So Alex went to the police station where he was being held to report the incident to the police. Well, they were as baffled as she was, and after her persistent requests, allowed Alex to talk to him. And she did. She asked him why he didn't hurt her that night, and his answer was as unexpected as it was shocking. He said, "Because there were so many people with you." "What?" "No, I was alone," Alex replied. "You were alone before, but as soon as I was approaching you, a few people came and asked me to leave you, so I went back. But then I saw you were walking alone again and I started chasing you again. Then more people came and told me to leave. I was surprised to see that many people coming at me that late at night, and I withdrew again. Well, the last time I tried to get close to you, their shouts were so loud that I couldn't bear it. They also told me that they would kill me if I didn't leave you alone. Well, I didn't need to hear any more. I just took off, ran away from there as fast as I could." Alex never knew if they were ghosts or even angels. Whoever or whatever they were surrounding her that night in the park, she knew that they had saved her life. There are so many personal experiences of seeing angels or spectres that we think of as angels. I'd be happy to make more videos on the subject. Let me know in the comments if that's something that you'd like to see. Well, I chose this experience of Alex's because it is so unusual. Most all angel sightings are singular. One angel, or ghost, or fairy, helping a person, but in this extraordinary situation, there was a horde of them. It really is exceptional. If you ever wonder if I actually believe these experiences that I share, let me tell you that I wouldn't share them if I didn't. An open mind is a healthy mind, and I'm certain that there is so much more in our world than we can even imagine. And I'm so glad that your mind is open too, and that you've joined me to explore the strangeness. Well, remember, keep your eyes and ears open and be kind. Cheerio!